I often find myself lost in the memories of my life with Ethan. We have built a world together, filled with laughter and love. Our mornings start with the smell of fresh coffee and the sound of our laughter echoing through our cozy kitchen. I can still hear him teasing me about my obsession with organizing the pantry. "You know, it's just food, right?" he jokes, and I can't help but smile. Those moments felt perfect, like a picture in a frame, beautiful and unchanging. But as I look back, I realize that the passion we once shared has slowly faded. Remembering the nights we would talk for hours, wrapped up in each other's arms, feels like watching a distant star. The fire we had has turned into a flicker, caught in the grip of routine. I often catch myself staring at Ethan as he cooks dinner, noticing how the spark in his eyes seems dimmer than before. What happened to us? The silence that sometimes fills the room is heavy, filled with unspoken words and desires left unfulfilled. I feel a growing distance between us, like an invisible wall that neither of us knows how to break down. As I sit on the couch, I can't shake the feeling that something is missing. I yearn for more, for that thrill of connection that seems just out of reach. My mind drifts to the dreams I once had, the adventures I wanted to embark on with him. I want to feel alive again, to chase the excitement that now feels like a distant memory. I often wonder if Ethan feels it too. Does he notice the emptiness that hangs in the air, or is he too caught up in the routine? Then, everything changes the night Noah arrives. The doorbell rings, and my heart races, a mix of excitement and dread. I open the door, and there he stands, a familiar smile on his face that instantly brings back memories of our past. "Hey there, long time no see," he says, his voice warm and inviting. I can feel a spark ignite within me, a flicker of something I thought I had buried deep. "Yeah, it's been ages," I reply, my voice almost a whisper. I invite him in, and as he steps across the threshold, I can't shake the feeling that this moment will alter the course of my life forever. Noah's presence fills the room with an electric tension, stirring feelings I thought were long gone. We chat easily, but there's an undeniable chemistry brewing between us, pushing the boundaries of friendship. I catch his eye, and for a moment, the world around us fades. It's just the two of us, lost in the intensity of the moment. "Do you remember that summer we spent at the lake?" he asks, a playful grin on his face. My heart skips a beat, and I nod, recalling the fun we had, the secrets we shared. "I thought we'd never stop laughing," he adds, and I can't help but laugh too, though a part of me feels guilty for enjoying this too much. Then, as if the universe is testing me, Noah leans in closer. My breath catches in my throat, and I suddenly feel overwhelmed by a rush of emotions. The thrill of the moment clashes with the guilt that twists in my stomach. What am I doing? This is wrong. I know I shouldn't be feeling this way, yet the urge to lean in and kiss him is almost unbearable. "Is this okay?" he asks, his voice low and uncertain, searching my eyes for an answer. I can't find my voice. I'm caught between the thrill of newfound passion and the weight of betrayal. My heart races, each beat a reminder of the life I've built with Ethan. In that moment, I realize I'm standing at a crossroads. Do I give in to this intoxicating feeling? Or do I turn back to the life I've known? The choices I make now could change everything, and the thought both excites and terrifies me. What do I truly want? Noah's arrival at my door felt like a storm breaking the calm. I had been waiting for him, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The moment I opened the door, I was hit by an electric tension that filled the air between us. His smile was warm and familiar, yet it sent shivers down my spine, awakening feelings I thought I had buried deep. "Hey, it's good to see you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Good to see you too," Noah replied, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "No, not at all. Just the usual. I said, forcing a smile. I could feel the weight of my perfect life with Ethan hanging in the background, but Noah's presence was like a breath of fresh air. I invited him in, and as he stepped over the threshold, I felt a shift, a crack in my carefully constructed world. We settled into the living room, and I poured us some wine. The conversation flowed easily, like it always had between us. We talked about old times, shared laughter, and reminisced about our college days. Yet, beneath the surface, an undeniable chemistry simmered. Every glance lingered a little too long. Every touch felt electric. I could feel the lines of friendship blurring, and it frightened me. "Remember that time we got lost on our road trip?" Noah asked, chuckling. "Yes, we ended up in that tiny diner," I laughed, the memory warming me. "And you ordered the weirdest thing on the menu." "Hey, it was an adventure," he shot back, and we both laughed again. But as the laughter faded, I felt the tension shift. Noah was looking at me differently, his gaze more intense. My heart raced, and I suddenly felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me. Then, without warning, he leaned in closer. My breath caught in my throat. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered, his voice low and filled with longing. I was taken aback. My mind screamed at me to pull away, to remember Ethan, to think of the life we had built together. But my heart was pounding with desire, and I couldn't find my voice. I just nodded, and in that moment, everything changed. His lips met mine, and a rush of emotions flooded through me. Excitement, fear, guilt. It was thrilling and terrifying all at once. I could feel the heat rising, and for a moment, I forgot everything else. But as quickly as the thrill surged, guilt crashed over me like a cold wave. What was I doing? I pulled back, breathless. "Noah, we can't—" "I know," he interrupted, his eyes searching mine. "But I can't help how I feel about you." "I feel it too," I admitted, my heart racing. "But what about Ethan? This isn't fair to him." Noah's expression shifted, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. "I don't want to hurt anyone, but I also can't ignore what's happening between us." The weight of my choices pressed heavily on my chest. I felt torn between the thrill of this new passion and the guilt of betraying Ethan. "This can't happen again," I said, my voice shaking. "We have to stop." "Are you sure?" he asked, his tone softening. "I don't want to lose this connection. It feels so real." "I know," I whispered, feeling the tears prick at my eyes. "But it's not right. I love Ethan, and I don't want to hurt him." Noah looked away, the tension thick in the air. I could see the disappointment etched on his face. But I also knew that giving in to this moment would change everything. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down into a chasm of uncertainty. "I need to think," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Okay," he replied, his voice heavy with resignation. "But just know that I'll be here, waiting." As he left that night, I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me. Excitement, fear, guilt, and a longing for something I didn't fully understand. I closed the door behind him, leaning against it as I tried to process what had just happened. I had crossed a line, and I knew that no matter what happened next, my life would never be the same. Every time I met Noah, I felt my heart race and my mind spin. Each clandestine meeting deepened the conflict inside me. I was walking a tightrope, balancing the thrill of our secret affair against the love I still held for Ethan. I tried to convince myself that it was just a fling, that it didn't mean anything. But deep down, I knew I was lying. One evening, after a stolen kiss with Noah, I found myself sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall. Memories of happier times with Ethan flooded my mind. I could see us laughing at the kitchen table, cooking together, and dancing in the living room. Those moments seemed so far away now, overshadowed by my guilt. Why am I doing this? I whispered to myself, clutching a pillow tightly. It was getting harder to keep my lies straight. I had told Ethan I was working late again, but really, I was with Noah. I could almost hear Ethan's voice in my head, asking where I had been. I didn't want to hurt him, but I felt trapped in this web of deception I had woven. "Hey, where have you been?" Ethan asked one night as I walked through the door, trying to sound casual. He looked up from his book, his brow furrowed with concern. "Just at the office. You know how it gets," I replied, forcing a smile. He didn't seem convinced. "Really? You've been working late a lot lately." I could feel the weight of his gaze, searching for the truth behind my words. I quickly changed the subject. "Did you eat? I can whip something up if you're hungry." "Sure, but I'd rather know what's going on with you," he pressed, his voice softening. I turned away, pretending to rummage through the fridge to avoid his eyes. "It's nothing, Ethan. I promise." As I cooked, the guilt gnawed at me. I could feel the tension rising, each moment stretching longer than the last. I hated lying to him, but I was scared of what would happen if I told him the truth. I didn't want to break his heart, but I was breaking my own in the process. Later that night, as we lay in bed, I felt the distance between us grow. Ethan turned to me, his eyes searching mine. "You know I love you, right? You mean everything to me." His words hit me like a punch. I wanted to scream that I loved him too, but the guilt was suffocating. Instead, I nodded, feeling tears prick at my eyes. "I love you too, Ethan." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Then why do you seem so distant lately?" "I'm just tired," I lied again, hating myself for the words that came out of my mouth. The emotional turmoil was building inside me like a storm. I wanted to reach out and tell him everything, to confess my betrayal, but the fear of losing him held me back. I was caught in a vicious cycle. The next day, I met Noah again, the thrill of our encounters pulling me in like a magnet. As we sat together in a quiet cafe, the world around us faded away. "I can't stop thinking about you," Noah said, leaning closer, his eyes intense. I felt my heart race. "This is risky. We shouldn't be doing this." "I know," he replied, his voice low, "but it feels so good. Don't you feel it too?" I bit my lip, torn between desire and guilt. "Yes, but..." "Ethan, what about him?" Noah pressed, his gaze unwavering. "He's not here right now. It's just us." The words hung in the air, heavy and charged. I could feel the pull of temptation, but a part of me screamed to stop. I knew I was playing with fire, but I couldn't help myself. The thrill was intoxicating, but the guilt was a constant shadow. As I returned home that evening, Ethan was waiting for me, his expression serious. "Can we talk?" I nodded, my heart sinking. The walls felt like they were closing in on me. I knew I was running out of time before everything came crashing down. How much longer could I keep this up? How long before the truth would finally come out? As days passed, I felt the air in our home grow heavy with unspoken words. Ethan had started to notice things, small things, at first, like how I would often glance at my phone or how I would lose myself in thought during dinner. I could see the concern etched on his face, and it made my heart race with guilt. I felt like a tightrope walker, balancing precariously between my old life and the new desires that pulled at me. One evening, as we sat on the couch, Ethan turned to me, breaking the silence that had become our unwelcome companion. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and filled with concern. "You seem distant lately." I forced a smile, trying to mask the turmoil inside. "I'm fine, really. Just a bit tired from work." The lie slipped from my lips so easily, yet it felt like a stone in my stomach. He studied me for a moment, his brow furrowing. "It's not just that. I can sense something is off. The weight of his gaze felt heavy on my shoulders. If there's something you want to talk about, you can tell me. I wanted to scream, to confess everything, but the fear of losing him held me back. I promise it's nothing, I said, trying to sound convincing. I just need to unwind. Ethan nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. I felt like a child caught in a lie, and the walls started to close in on me. I could not keep this facade up for much longer. The next day, I found myself racing against time. I had planned to meet Noah that afternoon, and the thought of it sent my heart into a frenzy. I paced around the house, checking the clock repeatedly, anxiety gnawing at my insides. Each tick echoed in my mind, a reminder of the lies I was weaving. When Noah arrived, it was as if a spark ignited in the air. His presence filled the room, making it feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in ages. But guilt shadowed the excitement. I was betraying the very person who loved me unconditionally. "Hey," he greeted me with that charming smile that always made my heart race. "You look beautiful." "Thanks," I replied, trying to shake off the guilt. "I shouldn't be here, but I can't help it." Noah stepped closer, the tension between us palpable. "You don't have to feel guilty about wanting to be happy." His voice was low, almost a whisper. "You deserve to feel alive." I wanted to believe him, but my heart ached for Ethan. But what about Ethan? He loves me, and I'm lying to him. Noah reached out, his fingers brushing mine. "What you have with him isn't what it used to be. You can't ignore what we have." As he leaned in, I felt a rush of emotions: fear, excitement, and longing. But before our lips could touch, the door creaked open, and I froze. Ethan stood there, his expression a mix of confusion and hurt. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with disbelief. Panic surged through me. "Ethan! Is this what you've been hiding?" he interrupted, his eyes darting between Noah and me. I had a feeling something was wrong. I just didn't want to believe it. My heart raced as I scrambled for words. "It's not what it looks like. I was just what?" he snapped, pain flashing across his features. "Hiding the truth from me? Lying to my face?" I felt trapped, the truth clawing at my throat. "Ethan, please, let me explain," I pleaded, but the words felt inadequate. "Explain what?" he asked, his voice rising. "That you've been seeing him behind my back? That you've chosen to betray me?" Tears stung my eyes as I struggled to breathe. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I'm sorry." For a moment, silence fell between us like a heavy curtain. Ethan's expression shifted from anger to heartbreak, and I saw the love I had taken for granted flicker in his eyes, fighting against the betrayal. "I don't know if I can trust you anymore," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. In that moment, I felt the walls I had built begin to crack. The facade was crumbling, and the reality of my choices hit me harder than ever. I was losing everything I had once held dear, and I didn't know how to put the pieces back together. The sun was setting, casting long shadows in our living room as I sat on the couch, anxiously scrolling through my phone. I felt the weight of the world pressing down on my chest. I knew something was going to change, and I could almost taste the tension in the air. The door creaked open, and Ethan stepped inside, his smile instantly lighting up the room. But I could see it in his eyes, a flicker of doubt that had begun to grow. "Hey babe, how was your day?" he asked, his voice warm and inviting. "Just the usual," I replied, forcing a smile. "How about you?" He shrugged, not quite meeting my gaze. "Busy at work, but I missed you." I felt a pang of guilt stab at my heart. I had become so good at hiding the truth that I almost believed it myself. The secrets I was keeping were like a heavy stone in my stomach, and I fought to keep the facade up. The days passed. each one more suffocating than the last. I thought about Noah constantly, his laugh echoing in my mind, the way he made me feel alive. But with every stolen moment, I felt the distance between Ethan and me grow wider. I tried to shake off the thoughts, to focus on what I had with Ethan, but it was getting harder. Then, one fateful evening, everything changed. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when I heard Ethan's footsteps behind me. I turned to see him holding my phone, a look of confusion on his face. "Is there something you want to tell me?" he asked, his voice steady but edged with pain. My heart dropped. "What do you mean?" He pointed at the screen. "I found messages from Noah." The air left my lungs as I realized the truth was finally out. I felt the ground shift beneath me, and I struggled to find my voice. "Ethan, Save it," he interrupted, the hurt in his eyes piercing through me. "How could you do this?" I felt tears welling up, but I couldn't let them fall. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was lost. I didn't know how to find my way back." His face twisted in disbelief. "Lost? You were right here with me. I loved you, and you threw it all away." The weight of his words crashed over me. I had taken his love for granted, and now I was facing the consequences. I wanted to reach out, to comfort him, but instead, I stood frozen, a statue of regret. "Do you even care about what this means for us?" he continued, his voice rising. "I thought we were happy. I thought we were enough for each other." "I do care. I care more than you know," I cried, my voice shaking. "But I made a mistake. I was searching for something I thought I lost." "Searching for what?" he demanded. "Another man? Is that what I was not enough for you?" The accusation hit me like a slap. "No, Ethan, it wasn't about you. I was the one who lost myself. I thought I was missing something, and I let it blind me." He shook his head, disbelief etched across his features. "You had everything. And now it's all shattered." I dropped my gaze, unable to face the pain I had caused. "I never wanted to hurt you. I love you, Ethan. I really do." He stepped back, the hurt in his eyes turning to anger. "Love? This doesn't feel like love to me. You have broken my trust." The silence hung heavy between us, full of unspoken words and shattered dreams. The reality of what I had done was suffocating. I felt the regret consume me, a dark wave of realization crashing down. I had jeopardized everything we built together for a fleeting moment of excitement. "I'm so sorry," I whispered, my voice barely audible. I never wanted it to end like this. Ethan turned away, the distance between us now an unbridgeable chasm. In that moment, I understood the full weight of my choices. I had lost not only his trust, but a part of myself that I would have to fight to reclaim. As he walked out of the room, I felt the walls of my perfect illusion crumble around me, leaving nothing but the stark reality of my actions. As I sit on the edge of our bed, the remnants of my life with Ethan swirl around me like fallen leaves in autumn. The silence in our home is heavy, filled with unspoken words and lingering pain. I can still feel the sting of betrayal in the air, but I also sense a faint glimmer of hope. This is my chance to embark on a journey of self-discovery and healing, not just for myself, but for Ethan and our relationship. "Can we talk?" I finally muster the courage to ask, my voice trembling slightly. Ethan looks up from the sofa, his eyes filled with a mix of sadness and curiosity. He nods, and I take a deep breath, stepping into the living room where we used to share laughter and love. "I know things are broken between us," I begin, my heart racing. "But I want to try to fix it. I want to rebuild our trust." Ethan shifts in his seat, his expression unreadable. "Do you really think we can? After everything that's happened?" His voice is low, heavy with doubt. I know it won't be easy, I reply, gathering my thoughts. But I've learned so much from my mistakes. I understand now how important honesty is. I want to be vulnerable with you, to share everything I feel. He sighs, running a hand through his hair. It's hard for me to trust again. I thought we were happy, and then... His voice trails off, and a painful silence fills the space between us. I took you for granted, I admit, my eyes stinging with tears. I let my desires cloud my judgment, and I hurt you. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I never wanted to cause you pain. Ethan looks away, his gaze fixed on the window. I just don't understand how you could do this to us. We had something real. We still do, I insist, my voice rising in desperation. But I need you to meet me halfway. Let's talk about our feelings, our fears. Let's be open with each other. I want to know what you need from me to move forward. He turns back to me, his expression softening slightly. It's going to take time. I don't know if I can just forget what happened. I don't want you to forget, I say earnestly. I want us to learn from it. We can build something stronger, something better. We just have to be willing to try. Ethan remains silent for a moment, contemplating my words. Finally, he nods slowly. Okay, let's try. But it's going to be difficult. I know, I reply, feeling a spark of hope igniting within me. But I believe in us. I believe we can find a way back to each other. As the days turn into weeks, we begin to communicate more openly. We share our fears and our dreams, diving deep into the layers of our past. Each conversation brings both discomfort and healing, peeling away the layers of hurt and resentment. One evening, as we sit across from each other at the kitchen table, I ask, "What was your happiest memory of us?" Ethan smiles faintly, his eyes brightening. "Remember that camping trip we took last summer? Just the two of us by the lake watching the stars?" I chuckle, recalling the warmth of the fire and the laughter we shared. "Yes, you tried to catch a fish, and you ended up falling in the water." He laughs, a genuine sound that feels like music to my ears. I was so embarrassed. But that night, lying under the stars, it felt like we could conquer anything together. Maybe we can find that feeling again, I suggest, my heart swelling with hope. We just need to keep talking, keep sharing. Ethan nods, his expression thoughtful. I want that too. I want to believe we can rebuild. As we continue to work through our issues, I reflect on the lessons I've learned from my betrayal. I've come to understand that love is not just about passion. It's also about honesty, vulnerability, and growth. I realize that I must confront my own fears and desires to truly embrace the future. While the road ahead remains uncertain, I hold on to the hope that we can emerge from the shadows of our past. Together, we can navigate the complexities of love and rediscover what it means to truly be a partner. As I look into Ethan's eyes, I see the possibility of redemption, and for the first time in a long while, I feel a sense of peace. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a moment of vulnerability that transformed your relationship, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.